Very much for joining me today on Market Faith. Always a joy to bring you teachings that help your business, that help you grow, that help you scale, that just helps you, be the best that you can be. So super duper delighted to have you join me today on Market Faith. Thank you so much for being a part of today. Now, today, we want to go a step further in talking about what you need to do to get on board more customers in your business. How do you acquire more customers? How do you get more customers in your business? Last week, I started out by talking about misconceptions that people have when it comes to customers in their business, and when it comes to acquiring customers, some of the ways that people think, because if we don't lay the right foundation and we don't have a very good understanding of this, then it's going to create problems down the line when it comes to actually doing what needs to be done to acquire customers. All right. So what I'm going to do is this week, I'm going to talk to you about a very important concept around understanding your customer, because you cannot start deploying customer attraction strategies if you don't understand who you are trying to attract. All right, you cannot begin to deploy customer attraction strategies without first understanding who you want to attract. And this is very important. When you read the Bible and you read about Jesus, the Bible says Jesus always knew the way people were thinking. Jesus understood people, right? Jesus understood the way people were thinking. And as a result of that, he could position appropriately for the effectiveness of his ministry, right? Jesus understood that for you to ask people to do something, they must have seen value first. So the Bible says that before they talk about his fame spreading abroad, they must have seen him heal someone, cast out demons from someone, or do something in the life of someone before people will begin to talk about him. So why am I saying this to you? If you don't know people, you can't define strategies to attract more customers. You must understand not just people generally or in a broad sense. You must understand the way your customers think. You must know them intimately. Let me say this: you can never overknow your customer. You can never spend too much money trying to know and understand your customer, all right? Because every time you think you know them, right, people change. I mean, it's just like you, right? If somebody comes back to you, maybe after 2 years of seeing you, and say, oh my God, they're still just the same, it's not necessarily a good thing, like, right? I think it was Jay-Z that said this. He said, look, people talk about how you've changed, like as if you worked so hard to remain the same. The fact is this: if you're alive, you should be changing, you should be evolving, and that's the way life is. You shouldn't be the same person 2 years ago. You shouldn't be the same person last year. You should have improved, you should have gotten better, and you should have changed, okay? So the same thing with your customers. They are moving. Some of them are moving across classes in the world. In other words, they are moving away from lower class to middle class, from middle class to upper class, and all those things. You must understand their changing needs. One time I was having a conversation with someone, and you said, and we were talking about how do we know that he's now middle class. He says that now, as a middle class, his desire is no longer to eat in certain places, is now to eat in some other places. That was the way he was defining the fact that he had come into the class and the category that you will regard as middle class. So why am I saying this? If you don't understand or know your customers very well, you can't add value to them. Now, let me also say this to you: if you are not attracting customers today, or you are not attracting enough customers today, chances are that you are lacking some very vital insights that is needed for those customers. If you are not already if you are not already attracting customers, there's something you do not know. If you are looking for customers, then there is a knowledge gap somewhere. Questions that you need to answer. So you need to do research. And the reason I say this, because sometimes people can get in a place where consciously or subconsciously they put themselves in somewhat of a prideful position. Not that they're trying to be proud or arrogant, no, not at all. But somehow they feel like, look, when it comes to knowing my customers, I know my customers I know my customers in toto, right? Listen, right? You need to calm down. If you are not getting customers, you don't know them. Listen, you may talk about the fact that you don't have the money. You may talk about the reason is because of this, the reason is because of that. I'm telling you today, take it from me, that if you're not getting the customers you want in your business, the biggest reason is because you don't know them as well as you think you know them. So you need to calm down and learn and understand more about your customers so that you can add greater value to them. All right. So the first thing I want to say to you in knowing your customer, KYC, all right, the banks talk about it a lot. Know your customer is define the profile of your existing customer, not the customer you want. We're going to get there. The first thing is this: who are the people that are currently patronizing you? Let's start from there. If we're not clear in our minds as to the people currently patronizing you, you cannot get the people you want to patronize you. So I've seen many business people who don't like their customers because they feel like their customers should be better paying, their customers should be this, their customers should be that. I hear you and I agree with you. But for us to get there, the first place to start is, who are you attracting today? Who do you have in your business today, and who are they, and how did you get them? So what is their age? What type of job do they do? Where do they live? These people that you currently classify as your customers, people that are currently buying from you, how did they become your customers? That's the second question. Because today I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Write down as many of them as you can and go back and watch the video for the ones that you can't write down. All right. How did you firstly define the profile of your existing customers, the people that are currently patronizing you? The second thing is this: how did they become your customers? Right? Some of the questions you're answering is, how did you get them? Okay, so for example, let's assume you have 50 customers, right? What are the big, if you narrow it down, there will be 3 or 4 ways or channels that all your customers, or about 80% of your customers, came through. All right, if you have a lot of customers, you need a much larger sample size. Find out how your customers, some people have customers, they don't know how they got there. They don't know how they became their customers. All right. So how did they become your customers? How did you get them? How did they know about you? There was a day that you were not in their radar, and there was a day that you became in their radar. What happened in between those 2 points? How did you get them? Okay. If they were referred, who referred them and why? These are questions you need to answer, right? You say, oh no, all my customers are referrals. I know, but why did people refer them? Why did people refer them and not someone else? Was it because you asked for a referral? Or was it because out of the magnanimity of their hearts, they decided to refer you? Or was it because they were having a banter with that customer and the person now recommended you because the issue came up? How did they recommend you? The reason why is that understanding all these things will help you to know what you can do to grow your business. You know, I'll give you an example. A consultant was in a conference training a particular organization, salespeople. He was training them, you know, and all of that, and things were going on in the retreat. And all of a sudden, somebody runs into the hall and begins to brand the paper and say, guys, we just landed our biggest sale of the quarter. And the whole auditorium erupted, and wow, woo, everybody was excited. And then the consultant said, wow, fantastic, this is good. Do you have any idea how that is? And all of a sudden, the energy that was very high in the room came down. Why? Because the guy, you know, that brought the news said, wow, it means we have a lot of work to do. In other words, they have achieved their numbers, but they have no idea what they did to achieve their numbers. The problem with that is that you cannot replicate what you cannot measure. You cannot replicate it will be a fluke at best. And flukes don't happen all the time. That's why they are called a fluke. All right. So it's very, very important that you understand, right, that if you are going to achieve great things, if you are going to do extremely well in your business, you must be able to understand where your sales are coming from and from which customers and why. All right. One of the exercises I like to do is to define the source of my highest, of my best paying customers, right? If I have 20 customers, right, and maybe the ones that are I'm making the most money from, right, how did I get them? Where did I get them from? How can I replicate that to get more of those types of customers than the ones that I'm not making as much money from? Okay, these are questions that you need to ask yourself. So if you do this exercise well, you will find that you have different categories of customers. Most people have corporate customers, retail customers. Now in the retail you have, and some people have government, so government, corporate, retail. Now under corporate, you may find that you have large corporate, you may be able to segment there. Under retail, you should be able to segment as well. All right, individuals, single people, married people. What kind of customers are you attracting in your business? If you are a location-based business, where are your customers coming from? Are they coming from your location or from outside your location? All those types of things. Now, from this exercise, the goal is very simple. You need to highlight your strengths and your weaknesses. All right, you need to highlight your strengths and your weaknesses. In fact, one of the things you also need to do is to identify the customers that have left you and find out why they left. Identify the customers that have left you and ask yourself, why did they leave? If some of them you can still call them on the phone, call them and say, hi, listen, I remember I never really asked you why you left from us serving you as our customer. If you don't mind, you want to give me some feedback that you can still remember, please go ahead and do so. All right, take the feedback on the chin, okay, and take it and note it down, right? Why? Because when customers tell you why they buy from you, right, you understand your strengths. I've seen many businesses that think that their customers are buying from them for a completely different reason than why their customers are buying from them. For example, if you sell food, you may think your customers are buying from you because your food is delicious. No, they may be buying from you because you are just convenient. It's not necessarily great, but you are convenient. What that means is this: if someone more convenient shows up, they will switch because their allegiance to you is not significant. So you must understand why people are buying from you and who are the people that are buying from you. And listen, you need to do this exercise. Even if you've done it before and you say, oh, I did it 3 months ago, it's too long, you need to do it again. It's a regular exercise that you need to carry out to understand the kind of people that are buying from you and why. Now, once you've highlighted all of this, you need to then extract your strengths and your weaknesses as a business. Not your own version of your strengths and weaknesses, your customer's version of your strengths and weaknesses. This is why you are having a conversation with them in the first place. Why? Because you can be blindsided to certain things. Your customers will tell you the real deal, right? And then don't just ask customers, oh, what do you, don't ask customers or put customers in a position where the only answer they can give you is a positive answer. All right, you want to give them an opportunity to explore. And then when you're asking questions, you need to ask control questions as well. Questions that ask certain things, then maybe a bit further down the line, you ask the same thing in a slightly different way. All right. So from this exercise, highlight your strengths and weaknesses, right? Then the next thing you need to do is to identify the kind of customers you want. The first thing we've done is to identify the customers we have. The next thing you want to do is identify the customers you want, all right? And then ask yourself, right, do I want more of the same or do I want a new set of customers? Now, for the customers that I want, who are they and what do they consider value? See, this is important. Please look up. Who are my customers? And what do they consider value? I'll give you an example. If you run an auto repair shop and you're asking yourself that who are your customers? Oh, anybody that drives a Toyota, right? that's too broad and that's too generic, right? So you need to narrow it down that, okay, these are the type of my customers. They are working a 9 to 5. They probably have more than one car, and the reason why is that depending on the nature of the kind of car that you fix, some cars are more expensive to maintain than some other cars, right? And if you have a customer who can't maintain a vehicle, chances are that they'll stop being your customer very soon. It's just it's just logical. Now, once you've identified your customer types, right, the other thing you then need to ask yourself is what do these people consider value? So for example, there are some customer types, if you run an auto repair shop, that if you decide to give them a spare car while you are fixing their car, they really wouldn't appreciate it, because they will say, look, I'd rather get on the public transport than take your spare car, maybe that and cost me a little bit extra. But there are some customers who would rather take that car than to go on public transportation. What does that mean? You are already serving different segments of customers. And you must understand what each category of customer considers value, right? Let's give another example. Maybe if you're in the fashion business, right? And some customers consider the fact that you can turn things around very quickly, right? For them, they are willing to pay extra for that service. For some customers, they don't mind. Take your time. 2 weeks, right? No problem. Just give it to me in 2 weeks. Some people want it much faster, right? You just need to understand the categories of the customers that you have and what each of them considers value, right? Then you move into the step of defining what actions can you take to reach them at the point that they consider that this is value. Very, very important, right? So when you're asking yourself about the kind of customers you want, where do they live, how much do they make, right? What value do I offer based on my strengths? Will these customers see that value? Because what you consider strength, some people don't see it. There's no point, there's a very, very, great book you need to read. It's called The Wolf of Wall Street, right? Fantastic book. The movie is somehow, right? But the book is awesome. You need to read it, right? But I've seen the movie as well. Now, one of the things that happened in the movie was that the main character, Leonardo DiCaprio, was hanging out with a bunch of friends in a restaurant. Some of you may remember this scene. And he hands over a pen to one of his friends and says, sell me this pen, right? And the first thing the guy looks at is, you want me to sell this pen? Okay, write down your number for me on that napkin. And the guy says, oh, I don't have a pen. And he gives him the pen and says, this is a pen, supply and demand, right? Now, what does that mean? The first thing he said, the first thing there that I want you to observe is, you can't sell something to someone that doesn't see that they have a need. You can't sell something to someone that doesn't see that they have a need. You have to either create the need in their eyes first, right? Or find someone else to sell it to. This is very important, because many of us are trying to attract people who have no need for what exactly it is that we are selling. And that is creating problems, right, for a lot of people in their business. All right? So it's very, very important that you understand what I'm saying to you. Okay? Right? So identify the kind of customers you want. What value are you providing to those particular customers, right? In doing this exercise, number one, you must be brutally honest with yourself. You must be super honest, right? Stop looking for your version of the truth. Start looking for your customer's version of the truth, right? Engage your team in this exercise. Listen, everything I've shared with you can tend to be tiring and can tend to be a lot of work. But remember, the more the work, the greater the results that you can get from doing that work. If you don't do the work and you do something shallow, then your result will be mediocre at best. You need to take your time, right? Because not everything about business is rosy. Not everything about business is exciting, right? When you see immature entrepreneurs, they always want to listen to the exciting teaching or something that is, wow, it blows my mind. Listen to me. If you want, doing the basics is one of the most important things to success. When you want to fly a plane, You must do the basics and do a bit more to take lift off. Once you are in the air, right, you can relax. But even that relax has a limit to it, right? Because you can't turn on off the engine. If you switch off the engine, the plane is coming down. There are basics that you must continue to do to arrive at your destination, even though you've done the hard work of lifting and now you are in the air and you are cruising. Why am I saying this to you? As a business owner, you must understand there are certain things that are not so exciting, but they are the basics that you must continue to do if you want to succeed in business. Next week, I'm going to talk to you about how you can begin to think about specific strategies that you can deploy to attract customers. All right. Next week is probably going to be, a lot more engaging for you. But this week's teaching around thinking through the types of customers that you are serving and what you are serving them, your strengths and your weaknesses, is super critical. Because by the time we're deploying strategies next week, you want to already have this base and this background, right? So the assignment I want you to do is, over the next 1 week, talk to at least 50 customers and ask them different questions about your business. It is hard, it will take you time, but you will not regret it. You will not regret it, because you will have significant value as to insights as to what you need to do to attract more people like them, especially for the high-paying ones. Listen, I hope today has been very valuable for you. I look forward to seeing you next week as we take this topic a lot deeper, and we'll probably try and wrap it up next week, all right, and pick on something else to talk about afterwards. I want to say thank you for joining me today. God bless you. I trust that you had, this has added value to you, all right? Please go ahead, like, share, subscribe on YouTube, all right? We will be super delighted to have you join us in our Market Faith community. We have a Telegram group that you can be a part of, and in that group, a lot of things goes on there that I think will be very helpful for you, all right? Click on the link in my bio on Instagram, and you'll see more of that. Thank you so much for joining me today. God bless you. If you're here for the first time, we love you. We celebrate you. Thank you for being a part of today, all right? People, hit the like button to welcome all our first timers. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next week.